Good morning. Just going through some requests with the live stream group. So we have core and hamstrings today is what's been requested. And truthfully, we're doing full body every time we do these flow classes. Sometimes I do a little extra emphasis in one area or just talk about one area more in a pose that we do all the time. So, all right, let's come to the mat and come onto our back and lie all the way down so the head's resting on the mat. Keep the feet on the mat though. Arms down by the sides, palms up, or you could place the hands on the body if that feels better. Knock the knees together, feet wide. So that's an internal hip rotation when you have the knees together and the feet wide. It feels like the inner thighs are going toward the top of the mat. They're not going out to the outer edges of the mat. Start to take a deeper breath in through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth slowly. Inhale in through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth. Last one like that. Cleansing breath. Deep breath in. Exhale back out through the mouth. Inhale in through the nose. This time back out through the nose. Keep the mouth closed. Keep going. This is your Ujjayi breath. And this stillness at the beginning of your practice, just focusing on your breath, is your opportunity to start to drop into your practice, clear the mind as best you can, and making space so that you're present for your practice. Feeling the mat underneath the soles of the feet, hips, back, arms, and head. Always there to support you in your own little sacred space. So much happens on this mat. Heel toe the feet closer together. Hug the right knee in toward the chest. Let's extend the right leg up. Grab onto the back of the right thigh. Toes come down, heel comes up. Left foot can stay where it is. You could extend the leg out in front of you if it doesn't bother the lower back. If you have the leg extended out in front of you, that left leg, press out through the sole of the foot. So it's like you're standing on the left leg. And we're taking it easy on the back side of the right leg. So don't feel like you have to bring the leg in too close. Just find a nice opening that's happening. Bring the sole of the left foot back to the mat. Cross the right leg high up over the left leg. So you're crossing as high up as you can on the inner thighs. Bring the knees in toward the chest. So it's not thread the needle. One knee is in front of the other knee. You're grabbing onto either the bottom knee. You could grab onto the bottom thigh underneath that bottom thigh, bringing the knees in closer to the chest, but try not to curl up the hips. Keep those down. And this is a nice way to not only get into the hips, but some of us feel a nice opening on the outer right glute area, sometimes going up into the hamstring. We don't always all feel the same thing. We use our bodies so differently. So it's hard to say what you're feeling, but that might be an area where you're feeling some kind of an opening. When you're more open in a specific area, it takes a little bit more to get that sensation. Set the left foot down onto the mat, right foot down onto the mat. Hug the left knee in toward the chest. Extend the left leg up, grab onto the back of the left thigh. Flex the foot so the heel goes up and the toes come down. Right foot can stay where it is, or you could play with stretching that right leg out in front of you. Keep that right leg firm, top of the right thigh pressing down toward the mat. So those right toes are pointing straight up. They're not going out to the side. Slide the right foot back to the mat, cross the left leg high up over the right leg. You could stay like this if you're feeling enough, or bring the knees in toward the chest, grab onto the bottom knee or back of the right thigh, whichever one feels like it's easier to reach without lifting the head and gives you a nice opening. Set the right foot down onto the mat. Keep the legs crossed. So left leg still on top of the right leg. And then reach the arms up. So palms face away from you. Fingertips are going up toward the sky. Right arm in front of left arm. And then take eagle arms. So you could just bring the hands to the shoulders. But if there's enough opening, maybe you bring the backs of the forearms together. Maybe the left fingertips go inside of the left hand. So essentially you're on eagle, but on your back. Get the elbows in line with the shoulders, hands away from the face. So hands in line with the elbows, and then lift the feet up, keep the legs crossed. Move the forearms back behind you and the feet away from you. You won't be able to go that far. And then bring it all in. You can lift the head, bring the elbows up toward the thighs, and then inhale, extend. You can set the head down or keep it lifted. Sometimes it gets too much into the neck. If that's happening, set the head down and then bring the elbows in toward the thighs. So eagle crunches, feet move away from you. I'm setting my head down because it's pulling too much on my neck. Bring the elbows back in toward the thighs, lift the upper body. Inhale, extend. Exhale, curl. Inhale, extend. Exhale, curl. Two more like this. Inhale, extend. Exhale, curl. Inhale, extend. Exhale, curl. Set the right foot down onto the mat, head down to the mat, uncross the legs, uncross the arms. I didn't come up with that idea until the second side. So now we got to go back to the first side. Right thigh crosses high up over the left leg. Reach the arms up, palms facing away from you, left arm in front of the right arm. Find eagle arms on this side. If your shoulders are uneven, it might be a different place, and that's okay. Try to get the elbows in line with the shoulders, hands in line with the elbows. So they're away from the face and you have plenty of room there. Lift the feet up. You're squeezing those inner thighs together so the legs aren't loose. And then inhale, extend. Hands go back, feet go forward. Exhale, curl, bring it all in. Inhale, extend. And that's the hard part, is finding the length on the extension. Exhale, curl. Inhale, extend. Exhale, curl. Inhale, extend. Exhale, curl. Two more like this. Inhale, extend. Exhale, curl. Last one. Inhale, extend. Exhale, curl. Lift the upper body, squeeze the legs together, and set it all down. Unwind the arms, uncross the legs, bring the knees in toward the chest, rock side to side. Such an efficient way to open up the core and get the core heated and open up the shoulders at the same time. Also a little bit of an internal hip rotation. Feet come down to the mat, roll over to your right side. come up to seated. Let's come to a cross-legged seat. So whichever shin's in front is fine. Bring the hands to the knees. I'll actually turn to the side because I think that'll be a better view. Okay, so sitting up tall, we'll just do seated cat-cow. So on the exhale, round the spine, chin in toward the chest. And on the inhale, lift the heart up toward the sky. Maybe the gaze goes up, but keep the back of the neck long. And keep going on your own. So exhale, round. Inhale, lift. Eyes might be closed if you're comfortable with that. One more cycle. You'll come back to seated, bring the feet to one side, come forward to hands and knees. Stack the shoulders over the wrists, spread the hands so fingers aren't touching. Make sure the index fingers are pointing straight forward or maybe out a little bit. That brings more space to the upper back. Step the feet back behind you, coming into plank pose, top of a push-up. So you don't want to feel like your weight's going down into the hands and the wrists. You want to be able to press down into the hands and the wrists and then lift the forearms away from the wrists. Eye of the elbows are going forward. So biceps spin forward, triceps back, heart's reaching forward. You're looking down, but forward. So ahead of the top of the mat, probably. Core hugs in all the way around you. Outer hips hug in toward the midline. You're shrugging up the thighs. So it's a lifting of the kneecaps. Feet are strong. Most important part of the pose is what's touching the mat. So balls of the feet, toes, hands. And then we're trying to create length in between the hands and the feet. Control of the hips so they're not lifting up or sinking down. Shift forward onto the toes, bend the elbows halfway, chaturanga. Set the body down onto the mat, tops of the feet to the mat. Bring the hands out wide. Let's do a wide cobra. So fingertips to the ground outside of the mat. Palms of the hands are lifting, elbows flare out. Inhale, lift up. You'll be able to come up a little bit higher with the arms this way. Exhale, fold. Two more like that. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Last one. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Bring the hands to the mat. Come up to hands and knees. Take child's pose. Big toes together. Arms out in front of you if the shoulders are okay with it. Forehead down to the mat. Balasana. Then lift the head, take downward facing dog, shift forward onto the hands and knees, tuck the toes, lifting the hips up and back. You can pedal out the feet. You can lift the both heels up, moving the hips side to side. Sometimes that feels good. But most of us like some movement here for this first one. Then you start to find stillness, which might mean you still have a deep bend in the knees, especially if the back sides of the legs need more time to open. Lift the right leg up and back, coming into a three-legged down dog. Step the right foot all the way through, up between the hands, coming into a runner's lunge. So fingertips to the mat, hands on blocks. Maybe the hands are down on the mat, but we want the chest to be lifted. We don't want any rounding in the upper back. So lifting up the chest helps with that so you can stay in the lower body. That's what we're trying to open. Set the back knee down gently. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Open up across the chest. You're just keeping the head right over the hips. We're opening up that left hip, front of the left hip. Lengthening that left quad. Looking down at the mat, bring the hands back down to the mat, tuck the back toes if you haven't already, lift the back knee, straighten the front leg. So you're high on the ball of the back foot. It's a modified pyramid pose. Hands can walk back if you need something a little gentler in the backside of that right leg. Let the head and the neck go. Hands can also come up higher. Blocks are a great way to make this a little softer if you need it. Inhale forward to your lunge, left hand underneath the left shoulder, right arm reaches up for a twist. Keep that left thigh lifted. You're still pressing back through that left heel, trying to get the hands 12 and 6 o'clock, shoulders away from the ears. Right hand comes down to the mat, step back, downward facing dog, left leg reaches up and back, three-legged down dog. And you can feel how you're getting an opening in the back of the right leg when you lift the left leg up. Step the left foot all the way through, up between the hands. Find that runner's lunge. Maybe you lift the chest up by popping up onto the fingertips or hands on blocks. Try to take the rounding out of the upper back. Set the back knee down to the mat. Interlace the fingers behind the back, one finger over. So the unusual way, lift and spread the chest. Lift that right hip bone up as best you can so you feel that space at the top of the right hip. Looking back down at the mat, bring the hands to the mat. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, straighten the front leg. Hips will pull back. Hands can walk back if you want. Let the head and the neck go. Stay high on the ball of the back foot so that heel is lifted. Inhale forward to your lunge, right hand underneath the right shoulder, left arm reaches up for your twist. Left hand to the mat, step back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, walk the feet up to the hands. Take a bunch of steps to get there. Forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Two more like that. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Last one. Inhale up halfway, core strong, heart forward. Exhale, fold. This time, circle the arms all the way up to standing on your inhale. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, bend the knees, plant the hands, step back to plank pose, lower all the way down to the mat slowly with control. Once you touch down, tops of the feet down, hands back by the lower ribs, cobra, Bhujangasana, shoulders away from the ears, broadening across the collarbones. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog, either hands and knees or fire it up to plank pose. Then lift the hips up and back. Bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, hop, bring the feet up to the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, plant the hands, bend the knees, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend, could be up dog if you want it. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, looking forward to the top of the mat, lightly bring the feet up. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Plant the hands, bend the knees. Notice which foot you want to step back first to your plank pose. See if you can try stepping the other foot back. See what that changes. Sometimes it's really awkward. Lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Feel those glutes help you in your up dog. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, figure out which foot wants to go first. See if you can step forward with the opposite foot. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. So we make these grooves in our body. We always step the same foot forward, same step back. Playing with that a little bit today. Inhale, circle your arms all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. It's good to alternate between each side. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Step the opposite foot back first to plank pose. Lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. And that's an argument for jumping. So the feet go forward at the same time or go back at the same time, but it's also hard on our joints. So it's something you have to figure out on your own, how to take the best care of yourself. All right, bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, hop, maybe use the other foot forward first to bring the feet up to the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. So bring the hands to the hips. Step the left foot back so you're facing the side of the mat. With the hands on the hip, you have a big wide step facing the side of the mat. Toes are both pointing toward the sides of the mat. Good. Interlace the fingers back behind you. Keep the chest lifted. So you're standing tall with these wide legs. Fold forward over the legs. Knuckles will go back behind the head. That's a shoulder opening with the fingers interlaced. If it's too much to keep the fingers interlaced, you can skip it and just bring the hands down to the mat. Try to stay even between the balls of the feet and the heels of the feet. Then come up halfway, bring the hands down in front of the shoulders, lifting yourself up a little bit higher onto the fingertips. Put a little bend in the knees, bring the hands to the hips, press yourself up to standing. Angle in the left toes, turn the right toes all the way out, find warrior two. Facing the front of the mat. Straighten the front leg, flip the front palm up, reach up and back, reverse triangle. Bring the hands to the hips, turn the right toes in to face the side of the mat again, angle in the right toes, turn the left toes all the way out, warrior two facing the back of the mat. Right, that top of the right thigh, the quad, it's pressing back. That's what helps you straighten the back leg. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reach up and back, reverse triangle. Bring the hands to the hips, turn the left toes in, heel toe the feet closer together until you're comfortable stepping them all together. Come back to the top of the mat, standing at the top of the mat. Bend the knees on your inhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. Knees are pointing straight forward. Feet are hip width distance apart for this one. Shift the weight forward into the balls of the feet. Lift the heels up high. So those outer ankles are hugging in toward the midline. Chest is lifted, core is hugging in. Set the heels down to the mat. You're back in your regular chair pose. Heels are heavy, toes are light. Forward fold, straighten the legs. Heel toe the feet back to or out to the outer edges of the mat. Clasp opposite elbows. You can sway side to side if that's okay in your back. Some people find stillness to be better. Switch the grip of the elbows, other forearm in front. And even here, you want to be heavier in the balls of the feet, lighter in the heels. You'll feel the hips shift forward and the back sides of the legs lengthen. Hands come back down to the mat, heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. Inhale up halfway. Exhale full, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Vinyasa if you want one on the way back to downward facing dog. So you can choose to skip any of these vinyasas that you want. Take them all if you want them. Step the right foot forward up between the hands. Warrior one, hop the back foot in, reach the arms forward and up. Square the hips. Core hugs in, chest can lift, gaze can lift, and that gives you more of a back bend in this shape. Toning of the belly so you have that support for the lower back. Bring the gaze forward, interlace the fingers behind the back, open up across the chest, start to bow forward, humble warrior. So legs stay the same. Knuckles go back behind you. You can rest the chest on the thigh or bring the torso inside the thigh. That's way deeper, so figure out which one's better. Come back to warrior one. Release the clasp of the hands, press into the feet evenly, reach the arms forward all the way up. And exhale, bring the hands down to the mat, make your way back, downward facing dog. Left foot steps up between the hands, find warrior one. Lift the upper body up, fingertips going up, energy going out through those fingertips. Deep lunge in that front knee. Look forward, interlace the fingers, one finger over, press the knuckles back behind you, start to bow, humble warrior. Try to keep the toes from gripping the mat. Hug the outer left hip in a little bit. You want it to be behind that left knee, which still has a deep lunge. Take your time, come back up, Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. Exhale, bring the hands down to the mat, make your way back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, maybe stepping with the opposite foot, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Back to chair pose, Utkatasana. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Surya B, inhale, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat. Make your way back, plank pose. Lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Right foot steps up between the hands. Spin the left heel down flat. Warrior 1 on your inhale. It's a long inhale. Exhale, hands come back down to the mat. You go back to downward facing dog with or without a vinyasa. Right away, left foot steps up, right heel down, Warrior 1. Exhale, hands come back down to the mat. Make your way back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose, down dog or vinyasa. Right foot steps up between the hands, left heel down flat, Warrior 1. Exhale, bring the hands back down, make your way back, downward facing dog. Left foot steps up, right heel down, Warrior 1 on the inhale. And exhale. Any way you want, back to downward facing dog. Three breaths in downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Moving on, bend the knees, sit back, come into chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold. Walk the hands out in front of you a little bit so the fingertips are underneath the shoulders. Shift the weight over to the right foot. Lift the left leg up and back. So standing splits. Doesn't have to be your deepest standing splits, but try to keep that left foot pointing straight down. Or maybe even try to pigeon toe that left big toe. From here, step the left foot over to the right. Bend the standing leg. You're coming into a curtsy squat. You could bring the hands up in front of the heart. Leave the hands down if it feels like it's too much. Hands come back down in front of you, back to standing splits. Left leg goes up and back. Then step that left foot way back like warrior one. So the heel comes down to the mat, front leg is bent, reach the arms forward all the way up, back to your warrior one. Square the hips forward as best you can. Look forward, little different this time. Interlace the fingers behind the back, point the knuckles straight back, chest is nice and open. Come forward halfway, so not very low. Chest is reaching forward. Come onto the ball, the back foot. If you can, keep the fingers interlaced. No worries if they have to come apart. Warrior three, shift the weight forward to the right foot. Lift that left leg from the inner left thigh. Left foot's pressing away from you. Release the clasp with the hands if you have it. Come up to standing, hover that left foot away from the mat once you get there. So you're still standing on one leg. Set the left foot down onto the mat, bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Walk the hands forward in front of you, fingertips underneath the shoulders. Shift the weight over to the left leg without swinging that left hip way up, way out to the side. Try to keep it right underneath you. Right leg lifts up and back, standing splits. So you could walk the hands closer into that left foot, ankle, leg. See what you can grab. If you did that, bring the fingertips back underneath the shoulders. So the heart's reaching forward. Bend the standing leg. Right foot goes over to the left, off the mat. You bend both knees. Maybe the hands come together in front of the heart. Curtsy squat. Hands come back down in front of you, back to standing splits. Right leg lifts up and back. Step that right foot way back, warrior one. Heel touches down, heel to heel, or probably a little bit wider. Reach the arms forward and up. Gaze goes forward. Interlace the fingers behind the back, one finger over. Press the knuckles back. You're only coming forward halfway, maybe less than halfway. You want to keep that momentum going forward with the chest. Come onto the ball, the back foot. Warrior three, take your time. Glide forward to that left leg. Lift the right leg up, still pointing the knuckles back. Hands can be apart if it's too much for the lower back or shoulders. Release the clasp with the hands if they're still together. Slowly start to come back up to standing. Once that right foot's underneath you, lift it away from the mat so you're still standing on one leg. Set the foot back down to the mat. Circle the arms all the way up overhead. On the exhale, forward fold down over the legs. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold vinyasa maybe on the way back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, hop, feet come up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Similar, but we'll add on this time. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. forward fold. Shift the weight to the right foot, lift the left leg up, standing splits. Let the head and the neck go. Walk the hands in if you're playing with your balance. Maybe you grab the ankle with one or both hands. Hands underneath the shoulders, looking forward, bend both knees, left foot goes out to the side. Maybe the hands come up in front of the heart, curtsy squat. Hands come back down in front of you, standing splits, left leg reaches up and back. Step that left heel way back, setting up for warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Gazes forward, interlace the fingers behind the back, knuckles back. Come onto the ball of the back foot, lean forward halfway or less. You can keep it up higher if you want to. Warrior three, glide forward, lift that left leg up, try to level off the hips. Release the clasp of the hands. Left hand comes down, right arm reaches up. You could use a block. You don't even have to touch down with that left hand for twisted half moon. But those legs are strong, core is hugging in. Try to keep the hips level and open the chest to the side. Hands come down to the mat. Step the feet together at the top of the mat. Heel toe the feet a little bit wider. Bring the heels in, toes out. Take Malasana, yogi squat. So bring the hips down, hands come together, elbows inside of the knees, open up the knees. We haven't done a lot of external hip rotation. Hopefully this feels good in your body. Chest is lifted. The heels are lifted, then keep the hands down in front of you and the back long. Hands come down to the mat if they're not already there. Straighten the legs, heel toe the feet back to hip width. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Utkatasana chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back chair. Exhale, forward fold. Shift the weight over to the left foot, lift the right leg up, standing splits. Fold over that left leg. Walk the hands in, see how close you can get them to the foot. Right leg is still strong, even though it's lifted and not supporting weight. Hands down in front of the shoulders, bend both knees, right foot out to the left, curtsy squat. Maybe the hands come together in front of the heart. Hands come back down underneath you, reach the right leg up and back, standing splits. Step it back to warrior one. Gazes forward, interlace the fingers back behind you. Come onto the ball of the back foot. Hover the chest forward. Warrior three. Release the clasp of the hands. Right arm down, left arm up. Don't worry about how low that right hand is. It can totally be floating away from the mat, which is more strength because you can't support yourself with that right hand. Hands to the mat in front of you. Step the feet together. Heel toe the feet wide. Heels in, toes out. Malasana yogi squat. Open up the knees, lift the chest. Keep all those muscles around the hips engaged, not relaxed. Lifting up through the pelvic floor, all the way up through the crown of the head. Hands come down to the mat, straighten the legs, heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Take a vinyasa if you want one on the way back to downward facing dog. It's your last one.
Once you get to downward facing dog, bring the knees down to the mat. Take child's pose, big toes together. Sit the hips back, forehead comes down to the mat. Lift the head, glide forward onto your stomach. So lying down prone on the mat, bring the arms back behind you, squeeze the hands together, tops of the feet to the mat. If you've been okay with interlacing the fingers this practice, try that. If it's not working, then just keep the hands apart. But you'll feel the chest lift as you bring the shoulders back behind you. Press into the tops of the feet, lift and spread the chest, point the knuckles back. Tailbone also points back. This is so much work for the backside of the body and really good for you, no matter where you are. Gently release, rest. So you can turn the head to one side. You can rest the head on top of the hands. Hopefully feeling that heartbeat into the mat. Waking you up from the inside out. Okay, 2 more of those. Press into the tops of the feet, reach the arms back behind you. If it's working, interlace the fingers 1 finger over, point the knuckles back, shoulders away from the ears, lift and spread the chest, tops of the feet still down, tailbone points back. Ujjayi breath. And release. If you're turning the head to one direction, maybe switch it if the neck's okay with it. One last one. Lift the head, press down into the tops of the feet, reach the arms back behind you. Maybe we interlace, that's up to you. Point the knuckles back, lift and spread the chest, tailbone back. Maybe you hover the feet. It's not how high they go, it's how long they are. So it's like someone's pulling your feet back as you reach the heart forward. Core is hugging in. It's also helping you lift. And gently release, let the arms go, turn the head, rest. You could lift the feet up toward the sky and then let them go side to side like windshield wipers. For some of us, we feel a release in the lower back when we do this. Some of us, it brings tension to the lower back. So you just have to listen to whatever messages you're getting and respond to those. Feet come back down to the mat, hands to the mat. Let's take child's pose, big toes together, forehead down. Maybe this time the arms go back behind you. Backs of the hands just rest outside the feet. Bring the hands underneath you, feet come over to one side, extend the legs out in front of you, coming to seated. And then once you come to seated, let's bring the right foot in toward the body, step the right foot outside of the left leg, grab onto this outer right ankle bone and move it over to the left. So you're working towards stacked knees. And then from here, you could bend this bottom leg, bring it in, but just make sure that the hips are even on the mat. So you're not leaning over to one side and you're certainly not sitting on one foot. Open the chest to the left, sitting up tall. You can gently hang on to this front thigh. If it's comfortable, you could bring the forearm outside of the right thigh. Gaze is going in the direction that you're twisting in. You're sitting up tall. Bring the gaze forward. Unwind the chest, you're facing forward. If you have the bottom leg bent, lean over to the left, extend just the bottom leg out in front of you. So all of us are in this half Gomukhasana shape. Reach the arms all the way up, fold over the leg. So getting back into that left hamstring again. Let the head and the neck go. And if it's too much, you can always extend both legs out in front of you. Start to walk the hands back in, coming back up to seated. Extend the right leg out in front of you. Bring the sole of the left foot to the mat. Step the left foot over the right leg. Grab onto the outer left ankle bone. Bring it over to the side of the mat. And then maybe you can stay like this and still do the twist, or maybe you lean over to the right and you bend the bottom leg. See how that feels. You just want to make sure you're even on both sit bones and you're not sitting on the feet. Open up the chest to the left. Maybe the right forearm comes to the thigh. Sit up tall. Gaze in the direction you're twisting in. Slowly unwind the chest facing forward. If the bottom leg is bent, extend it out in front of you. So you're just back in this half Gomukhasana. Reach the arms all the way up. Fold forward over the legs. Let the head and the neck go. Walk the hands in, coming back up to seated. Extend the legs out in front of you. Bring both feet over to one side. Come forward to hands and knees. We'll play with one more pose. So bring the knees together, feet apart so that there's enough room for the hips. I know I need a block for this pose, so I'm going to stick a block between the feet. Some of you can bring the hands to the calves first, open up the calves so that the knees can bend as much as possible, and then sit the hips down between the feet. If you need something to get the hips down, all the way down, touching on something, use a block. If you can get the hips all the way down onto the mat without a block, then skip the block. That's your hero's pose, Virasana. Walk the hands back behind you. So now you're in a more reclined version of the shape. Some people can go a lot lower than me. That would mean forearms coming down to the mat. If you're on that's only if you're not supported underneath you. So if the hips are down on the mat and you can go back further, take it all the way back, lie down onto your back, head down on the mat. I've never been able to do that, but some people love it. And I want to give you that option if that works for you. If you're like me, you have a block underneath the hips, you can stay on the hands. You might be able to get down to the forearms. If it's too low, skip it, come back up onto the hands. If you're all the way back and your head's down on the mat, press the forearms and the hands into the mat so you can lift the head up looking forward. Once you're back up onto the forearms, come up onto the hands. Start to walk the hands in. So you're coming back up to head over the hips. Then come forward to hands and knees again. If you have anything underneath you, set it off to the side. Bring the feet to one side. Extend the legs out in front of you. One forward fold. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Fold forward over the legs. Paschimottanasana. And slowly come back up to seated, all the way down onto your back, setting up for Shavasana. Head relaxes down on the mat, legs out in front of you. Close the eyes. Take one more breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Let go of the breath control. Eyes can roll back. Face begins to soften. And your jaw becomes heavy. Start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Stretch the arms overhead, getting long on your mat. Walk the feet in, bending the knees, rolling over to one side, maybe the right side. Cradle the head and the arm. Keep the eyes closed if you can. Use that left hand to press yourself up to seated. So finding your meditation seat, sitting up tall, chest is lifted, Hands come together in front of you. Slight bow of the head, taking a moment to honor and acknowledge your heart and your spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me. You have so many options, so I appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.